I would never advise anyone to mimic my portfolio weights because I tend to be very risk on and pretty aggressive with stuff.
GM, good morning. Welcome to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. I'm Jay Hamilton, and I believe that on-chain is the next online. Today, we are joined by OSF, the infamous Twitter, the founder of Rekt Guy NFT collection, former TradFi trader at Barclays, angel investor, and a very successful crypto trader and fellow podcaster and content producer in the space. In today's episode, we discuss OSF's portfolio breakdown and his strategy for this bull cycle, his bullish case for Memecoins, which led him to swap all of his SOL into WIF this week, where we're at in this cycle and how much longer he thinks it will be, and his exit strategy, which is full of alpha. So you're going to want to listen to the end to hear that. Without further ado, let's hear from OSF. GM Ovi, welcome to Milk Road Radio.
Hey man, thanks a lot for having me.
Can you give us a brief background on yourself and your entry into crypto?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my career in traditional finance. I worked as a trader at an investment bank. I traded high yield credit and distressed credit. And I did that for about 10 years. So I spent some time in London, some time in New York trading. And towards the end of my career, I guess I kind of discovered crypto. Like I'd known about crypto for a long time. I heard about it in 2013, tried to buy some ETH in 2017, and I couldn't set up a Coinbase wallet. But I was always very crypto skeptic. I think when you come from a traditional finance background, you're taught to appraise valuations methodically. So whether it's through, a model or fundamental analysis, there are always different factors that end up feeding to what something should be valued at. And then you have Bitcoin and crypto, and all these valuations came out of nothing. There was nothing to really pin those valuations on. So I was very crypto skeptic and bearish on crypto for a long time, just like I think most TradFi people still are. But then you had this whole inflation narrative start to pick up in early 2021. And I kind of just got my head around Bitcoin being digital gold, and I could understand its use case as an inflation trade. And so, yeah, I bought some Bitcoin in 2021. And my friend and I at the time, we were looking at buying collectibles, art, watches, and that kind of stuff, because those are also assets that perform very well in inflationary environments. And that's when we came across digital art, NFTs, and we're like, oh, wow, this could be like the ultimate inflation trade, because you have the Bitcoin crypto angle to it, and then you have the collectible angle to it. And we just felt like it was the kind of asset that could really take off. And so I got deep into NFTs in around February, March 2021. And after that, I just kind of fell in love with the market. Like having traded traditional finance for a while, it was a much more exciting thing to trade because it was way more volatile, massive price moves. The nascency was very exciting. No one really knew where things should trade or what the valuation should be, and everyone was kind of new to the game. So just found the nascency of it very exciting, where no one really knew what they were doing, and there was a lot of opportunity, I think, to get involved and trade it. So yeah, by the end of that year, I ended up quitting my job to go full time into crypto and NFTs, and we really started out really just collecting and trading stuff. But I also used to make a lot of digital art when I was younger. So I tried my hand at drawing a few things towards the end of that year, and it kind of just took off as well. And yeah, since then, we've just gotten really stuck into the whole crypto world, and everything from trading to running a couple of our own projects to angel investing and stuff. We've really been involved, and it's been super exciting. I definitely wouldn't change anything.
So I'm going to give a little bit more color to here. You are the founder of Rekt Guy, which is one of the most well-known NFT collections. If anybody out there, I'm sure whether or not you hold a Rekt Guy, I'm sure you've seen it. It's great art. It's dope art, kind of very much X-copy-like vibes to it. You also are building out the whole Rekt brand, which I think everybody in crypto loves the term wrecked, although we're all trying not to get wrecked, but we all probably recognize we will in many ways. That's part of being here. Mostly today, we're going to talk about markets and what your thoughts are. Just before we do, can you maybe just give us an overview of your portfolio now and where you're at, just so we can kind of frame our reference? There's so many tokens in the space and so many people who are more invested in fungible versus more invested in NFTs. Just curious, what's your current portfolio sort of overview look like?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Now, I would never advise anyone to mimic my portfolio weights because I tend to be very like risk on and pretty aggressive with stuff. And my style of portfolio management in crypto, but also trading back when I was at the bank, has always been to take large positions, large concentrated bets in
Okay.
a few tickers rather than diversification.
Mm.
And my belief is diversification is great, but then you might as well just buy the S&P 500 or just buy a crypto index. You're not really like
Mhm.
getting any alpha, right? It's just beta if you have something diversified. And to really get the alpha and outperform, you have to try and pick a few winners. And so it's certainly a riskier strategy in something like crypto where everything can go up quite a lot. It may just be easy to hold Bitcoin because you're getting, still phenomenal returns versus traditional financial markets. But the fun of it is trying to pick the winners and try and get big in them. So as it stands, I would say more than half of my portfolio is in meme coins. Now, that's not because I think that's the way you should be structured. It's because I bought a lot of meme coins towards the end of last year and early this year. And because of how much they've moved, they've now become a large part of my portfolio. And
Mhm.
I'm just trying to manage that lower and get it back to a normal level. But at the moment, that's what it is. And really, it's actually across 3 or 4 meme coins. One of them is Whiff, Dog with Hat. One of them is Mog, which is a meme coin on ETH. And then there's a couple other smaller ones that I have, Epic Duck on Solana and Pac Moon, which is on Blast on ETH. And then the rest of my portfolio is just ETH and Sol. So really, I just have my ETH, Sol, Barbell, and then a bunch of meme coins in the middle. And that's pretty much it.
And in the last cycle, would it have been? What would it? Just curious. Would it have been? I'm guessing the meme coins would have been replaced by NFTs. Was it mostly
Absolutely.
NFTs in the last cycle, and then ETH and Bitcoin maybe because you weren't in Sol yet?
I've never actually owned a lot of Bitcoin. So it was predominantly
Okay.
ETH. It was ETH and NFTs.
Okay.
And I found that to be a good balance. And, this year you have Sol, which is in the mix now as well. So
Yeah.
I like the idea of ETH and Sol. But yeah, similar kind of idea, like NFTs replaced by meme coins as the higher risk, higher reward part of the market.
Okay. I wasn't going to ask this question until later in the show, but since you've now established that 50% of your portfolio is in meme coins, and you posted earlier this week on Twitter that you sold all of your Sol for Whiff. Is that true?
It's true. Yeah. So I did tell a little bit of a lie earlier when actually the other 50% is just ETH now, not and not ETH and Sol. Previously was ETH and Sol. But yeah, I've owned Whiff for a long time. I was quite lucky to get early to it. Like I bought it in December.
Wow.
And that was the first thing I really did meaningfully in Solana. I'd missed the whole Solana train last year, and not for lack of understanding it or wanting to take the risk. I think I picked the wrong things at that time and didn't really appreciate how much of a narrative it could really become. So Solana was taking off and Bonk on Solana started taking off. And I was like, well, if this thing's really going to take off, surely there's room for another coin. And
Mhm.
I just picked Whiff really because it seemed to be the one that I liked the most and that was the funniest, that had the most behind it. And I never really expected it to get to where it is now. I was like, maybe this coin could go up 2 or 3x, whatever. I think it was like a
Mhm.
$25 million market cap at the time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know, it's insane.
What is
Um,
it? 4 billion now?
4 billion now. Yeah, it's 4
4
billion. It's
billion.
crazy, right? Absolutely crazy. I was pretty lucky because my style is always to like just go big into something. And this is not to say I'm a genius. Like I've lost so much money
Mhm.
going big into like random meme coins and NFTs and stuff, and they just go to zero, right? So,
Mhm.
but when you get one right, obviously it can go pretty big. But if like I kind of had moments of time where like I sold my whole position, then I bought the whole thing back again. I was really not sure what to do because I was so scarred from round tripping stuff in the bear market that I wanted to
Mm.
take profits and not, have something to show for it. But at the same time, I just felt like it was going higher. And I think, you know, after a few weeks, it just became clear that, this is the chosen one. And so I kind of had a couple of days where I sold the whole thing, bought it back in like the same day. And then the next day it was up 50% or 100%. I was like, man, if I didn't buy it back, I would be hating myself right now. Honestly, it feels like I've cheated death there to an extent. But it became clear. It was the kind of like the chosen one. And so I just held most of the position. I rode a lot of it up. And then once it hit $1 billion plus and got a few exchange listings, I took off about 75% of the position. And then I kept the
Mhm.
rest of it as like a moon bag, as we call it.
Mhm.
And so I had that position for a while, and then I noticed Whiff sold off quite a lot in the last couple of weeks, and Solana felt weak, and On the other hand, you had Pepe and other coins doing pretty well. And so I just felt like, I'm bullish on memes, and I think it's the casino of this cycle. I don't think we've seen the end of it yet. And on that basis, I just felt like there would be another move higher for WIF, whether it would have been today or tomorrow or next week or in a month. I wasn't really sure, but I just felt like there was going to be another big move higher for WIF because I just didn't see the meme coin cycle dying. So yeah, just put all my soul back into WIF, and so far it's been a good trade. And, we'll see how it pans out. But something like that where it's like, it's not necessarily that I'm bullish specifically on WIF, although I am, but it's just I just think meme coins are going to have another run, and they've shown signs of it, and it felt like to me I could have more exposure to it.
Crypto will go up more than 100x in both users and value over the next decade. If you're listening to this right now, you're extremely early and have an incredible opportunity to capitalize. At Milk Road, our mission is to make you smarter about crypto. That's why we're doing today's podcast and why we send you a daily newsletter for free. But if you're ready to level up as an investor, then let me tell you about Milk Road Pro. We crafted this resource for investors who are already smart enough about crypto and are looking for more actionable insights on how to invest successfully in one of the fastest growing industries on Earth. Every week, we break down the latest trends, dive into tokenomics of popular and up-and-coming tokens, and get into the nitty-gritty of market analysis, all to help you invest smarter. Plus, we have a private Discord community for pro members. It's like your backstage pass to the Milk Road crew, exclusive insights, hot tips, and live AMAs with our team. Now, if you're looking to level up as an investor, then click the link in the show notes below and sign up to Pro today. Don't let this bull market opportunity slip through your fingers.
Just going to comment on, sort of double click on your point earlier of not everybody should follow your strategy here. And the main reason is you're quite active, and most people are not capable of being that active for a few reasons. One, mentally, it is so draining and stressful and exhausting, as you said, like buying and selling your whole bag in and out like that. Like most people can't handle that. And that's okay. If you're listening and you can't, that's okay. And also you need to, unless you're like us and you're full-time in this space, which most people are not yet, right? I hope over the next decade, we will get to the point where, billions of people will be working on chain, but we're not there yet. And so if you're not that active, then it's really hard to keep up on all of this stuff and to make these quick decisions. Okay, I want to go back to your two questions, and these kind of go together. Is I want to understand a little bit more about why you're bullish on meme coins, although it might be as simple as I think it is. And then I want to understand your statement of you don't think this cycle is over. So let's zoom out. Where do you think we are at in this cycle?
Yeah. So why am I bullish on meme coins? Something that's really struggled this year, and people have become wise to, is this idea of VC coins, right? So many of these tokens and technologies, and whether they're L1s, L2s, gaming tokens, whatever they are, these guys will raise money from VCs at very low valuations. They'll then come to market at multiples of the valuations at which they raised at, and they'll have a very low circulating supply versus their fully diluted valuation. And for the first couple of months, whatever it is, 3 months, 6 months, it's usually a 6-month cliff, it's all fine and it trades okay. But after 6 months, these VC tokens start to unlock, right? And these guys are up 50x, 100x on their initial investments. So they're just selling. And that's why you see some of these coins with just, what feels like perpetual sell pressure, because something might go down 50% post a VC unlock, and then it might drop down another 50% over the next 2 weeks. And the average retail investor might be like, what's going on? Why does this just keep going lower and lower? But if VC is up 100x and then it drops 50%, they're still up 50x, right? So they're just going to keep selling. And even if it drops another 50%, it's up 25x. They're so far in the green, in the profit, that they will just continue to sell until they're out of their position and they've taken out all the proceeds they can take, and they'll move on to the next one. So I think a lot of those coins are technically challenged and very doomed really from the outset. And a lot of retail investors don't understand this. And this is the thing, you speak about meme coins and people are like, well, that's just a joke. It's not real technology. It's not real crypto. Look at this, amazing tech that this L2 has done, which is fine because, from a fundamental standpoint, you may have a point there, but trading and investing is not all about fundamentals. You have to also have an appreciation for the technicals, and you can have the best coin in the world, but if someone owns a large chunk of the supply and they're up 100x, they're going to be selling, and they will keep selling until they're out. And it's difficult for you as a retail investor to fight that. So meme coins don't really have that dynamic, right? Because most of them are fair launches. And yes, at the beginning, maybe some people snipe the supply and you get some whales at the beginning, but eventually that supply ticks over and they're out. There's never more coins to vest. And people generally aren't up 100x straight away on the meme coins. That happens over time. So from a technical standpoint, the supply management and the tokenomics of a meme coin are actually a lot better than VC coins. And that's not the case for every single meme coin. Some, like in anything, you have bad actors, and that can happen on meme coins. But, for the most part, the coins that do well have much stronger tokenomics than the VC coins. And then the other thing is they're not predicated on someone going out there to complete a roadmap. You're not predicated on this L2 launching this mainnet on this date, making sure there's no bugs in it, making sure they get this much TVL and compare this TVL to that TVL. There's nothing like that. It's just, is it a good meme? Is it funny? And will people congregate it around it as a community? If so, then it can do really well. And there's no real limit to how well it can do because there's no comparables. I mean, we're comparing to what, like Doge in 2021, which got to $100 billion, $80 billion market cap. There's no cash flows or anything to pull a value from. It's like, I mean, Bitcoin is the original meme coin. I'm just describing all the characteristics of Bitcoin. So from all those standpoints, and forgetting all of that, they're just fun. It's a lot of fun to trade them. It's fun to find things that are funny and get involved, and the Telegram chats and the WhatsApp groups and, the Discords, they're all hilarious. And I think people have fun doing it, and it caters more to a younger audience, which are probably the larger users of crypto right now. So they have a lot going for them. And I just think the number one attraction of crypto is to make money, which is a derives from gambling to an extent. And that's kind of what meme coins are. It's kind of like a little casino. It's the main crypto casino right now. So yeah, I just think all those things mean that they will do well. And generally speaking, when the sector does well, it doesn't mean you can have tons of meme coins. Which ones do you pick? There's hundreds of thousands of them now, but it does mean that you may have a select few that are at the top, the 3 best, the 5 best, that can kind of lead the market and do well. Kind of like how we saw CryptoPunks and Bored Apes lead NFTs in 2021. And so that's basically what I think about meme coins. That's not to say they will last forever and this will last forever, because it won't. Look at NFTs, right? NFTs were killing it in 2021 and everything was going up so much, right? And then people were like, this is going to change the world. And, next thing you know, 2 years later, 3 years later, NFTs have dropped like 99% across the board. And we could see the same thing with meme coins. It's just about identifying when the tide turns. But for now, I think you want to be invested. I don't want to say the word invest. You want to be gambling. If you're gambling, you want to be gambling where the biggest and hottest casino is. And right now, that's meme coins.
Okay, so follow-up question. I did not expect to talk so much about meme coins on this episode, but I love this. Where do you think we are at in the cycle? And what is your exit plan?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I've really been asking myself this a lot over the last few days and weeks. And I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, I probably would have said that we are closer to the end than the beginning. So we're over halfway through the cycle. I kind of felt maybe like 70%, 70, 80%. We had some big moves. I still felt like there'd be one more big move and then maybe things would change. But I think my views on that have changed in the last 2 weeks because we've had some major developments, right? We've had a complete 180 in the US political arena for crypto, right? Complete 180. You've had the ETH ETF suddenly surprisingly get approved with no commentary from the SEC, which, is like a political act of God, basically. Someone was like, hey, you guys are approving this. And now you have Donald Trump going out there saying he's going to save all the Bitcoiners from, Elizabeth Warren and her goons. And he's going to make the US a crypto hub and all this kind of stuff to 50 million crypto holders in the US. I mean, that's a complete 180 from him. And crypto's a massive thing right now. I think I read somewhere that 1 in 3 people care about crypto when voting in the US elections. Like, it's a big topic right now. And so, I think Trump is probably ahead in the polls. And so for Biden and the Democrats to counteract this, they kind of also have to be on board too. And you did see some signs of that. They did say they weren't going to veto the FIT 21 proposal that went through a couple of weeks ago. So that for me is a massive thing because, number one, you have an ETH ETF approved, which we didn't think was going to happen, which is huge. It basically says ETH is a commodity, not a security, and it paves the way for that same logic to apply to many other altcoins, which were all at risk of being classed as securities by the SEC. And number two, you now have the US changing its stance from trying to like destroy crypto to actually supporting it. And so I think those two things will give it another life, and I think will make this cycle longer than I thought it would. And therefore, I think we're actually probably maybe only halfway through. I think we have a lot more of it to come. And yeah, the last 2 weeks of developments really just changed my view. I feel like we should be way higher for what's happened, and maybe we need to muddle through, and the market needs to digest the news a little bit more. But yeah, it was, I would say we're halfway through now based on that.
And when you say halfway through, do you mean in time or do you mean in growth of market cap?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've never really thought about it from what am I answering for there, halfway through in time or price? I think probably both. I think Bitcoin can get to maybe, well, actually, I think, no, I would say time, but not price. I think prices can go higher. I think Bitcoin could get to 200 to 50K. I think ETH gets to like 10K. So from a price standpoint, that's, maybe 30% of the way through. Coins, I think, could move a lot higher. Time standpoint, I think probably halfway. I think my guess is like maybe Trump wins the elections, market rallies, crypto rallies, goes really high. Then inflation starts spiking again because of whatever he's going to be doing and trying to push for lower rates. And, at some point next year, second half of next year, things start to feel not as rosy anymore. And that's when, we start heading lower again.
So what's your exit plan?
It's tough to figure out the exit plan. I think what you need to do, whether you want to exit or not, depends on two things. Well, you have to decide why you want to exit something. Do you want to exit it because you're trying to time the top of the market? Or do you want to exit something because you have personal financial goals and you've made enough money and you want to take those chips off the table to secure that? And the two things are not necessarily the same, right? Like, for example, if I'm like, I want to make enough money to quit my day job, and if I've now made that money, I should be taking that off the table to achieve that goal. Because, man, if things fell from now and I missed that goal, I would be really bummed about that. So, but if my goal is I want to just time the top, then, you have to try and do that. So for me, like personally, like I think I've, returns wise, I think I've gotten pretty lucky on some things. I've done well. So I'm at a point now where I've taken some chips off the table twice this year meaningfully, and I'm starting to trim some positions again now. Like I think as things go higher, just take a little bit off. I think there's no need to try and, sometimes you feel like you just want to sell the whole thing, and that's a mistake. I think the idea is, prices move up 10%, 20%, 30%, 50%, take a little bit off. Same again, take a little bit off, and just chip away at it. That way, I think I still have some skin in the game if things go a lot higher, and I've underestimated it. And if things go lower, then I've, taken some cash, some stuff out. But for me, I'm definitely not in like adding risk mode, and I'm definitely in like selling on strength mode, I would say, but in very small amounts to try and last myself, a year's worth of selling or something like that, basically.
And when you take chips off the table, what do you do with that? Do you just hold it in cash?
For me, the definition of taking chips off the table is very strict. I assign myself very strict definitions because you never know what can happen in crypto, right? So for me, taking chips off the table is actually selling it for stables, sending it to Gemini, Coinbase, or Kraken, or whatever, and converting it into fiat.
Oh, wow. You really do take it out. Okay.
Yeah, with the cash in my bank account, with the amount for taxes set aside in another bank account, right? Because that's the only way you can really, truly be risk-free, because you're still holding money in stables. What happens if you get hacked one day, or your account gets compromised or whatever, or USDC lost its peg last year, right? So like it wasn't trading at 1, it was trading at like 90 cents. So there's always risks there. And yeah, of course, people will say there's risks to banks and bank accounts and stuff. But I mean, look, at the end of the day, you can pay your bills with fiat, right? You can't pay your bills with crypto, at least not yet. So taking chips off the table means that. And I think I will continue to do that. And then maybe after it gets to a certain point, I'll have some in stables, because you want some easy liquidity to have to, buy crashes and big dips and whatnot. But I'm very, very prudent about managing my risk, managing my tax, because I think I've seen people firsthand screw this up and make a ton of money on paper, but then have nothing to show for it at the end of the day because they've messed up one of those steps. And I think at the end of the day, if you're here making money, trying to make a difference to your life, you need that money in your bank at some stage, right? And so I'm very cognizant of doing that.
It's fantastic advice. You are a true crypto degen, but also an incredibly conservative thoughtful person. This is a rare combination in the space, especially for somebody who's the founder of the Rekt Guy brand. Having not met you before, I imagined you to be much more degen as you appear on Twitter, to be honest. It's wonderful to hear this balance. You're much more wise in your old, I guess you came from the TradFi world, so you got
a bit of both.
Yeah. Ovi, thanks so much for joining the show today. Thanks for sharing your wisdom with us. We will throw a link to your Twitter, to your NFT collection, to all the things we discussed in the show notes. For anybody who wants to follow you, highly recommend you guys follow OSF on Twitter because he's putting out the good stuff on the daily. Wish you all the best of luck in your meme coin journey this cycle. And thanks again for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
In case you missed it, in today's news, PayPal has launched their stablecoin PYUSD on Solana. This is big news to see them moving their stablecoin onto the Solana chain. They are already on the Ethereum chain. I think they saw Tether made $4.5 billion in net profit in Q1 2024. Meanwhile, PayPal recorded a profit of just $888 million in Q1 2024. No doubt the light bulbs are going off in the heads of the guys over at PayPal saying, hey, we got to jump further into this game. Also, BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF has surpassed Grayscale's. IBIT has finally flipped GBTC. IBIT is now the largest spot Bitcoin ETF in the United States. As of Wednesday morning, over 20 billion worth of Bitcoin, whereas GPTC holds about 19.7 billion. Also in news today, a U.S. judge has ordered the SEC to pay 1.8 million in damages for overreach against crypto company DebtBox. The best quote I saw here was that even when crypto wins, we all still pay. That's it for today's episode of Milk Road Radio. Have yourself a wicked awesome day. Thank you for listening to Milk Road Radio, the easiest path to get smarter about crypto. If you like this episode, share it and hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss out on the next one. There's also a link in the description to our free 5-minute daily newsletter where we simplify crypto for you while making you laugh. And if you're willing to step up your crypto investing game, then we'll leave a link to Milk Road Pro as well, your #1 resource to help you invest successfully in crypto. One final note, this podcast is for educational purposes only. Nothing we say is financial advice. Crypto is risky, so you should never invest more than you're willing to lose. Thank you, friends, and we'll see you in the next one.